Okay.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to the live show for June. Today we're talking about Five by Ilona Bannister. I have my co-host here. There should be another co-host, perhaps, hopefully, popping in at some point. I don't know if we might have gotten the times mixed up. I feel so bad. Oh, KP just saw my message.
Oh, okay.
We'll see. Okay. Anyway, I'm going to let you introduce yourself.
Okay.
Very first live show ever. So really putting you on the spot here, being the only one here. If you want to let us know, like your channel name and your name, any books. I like to ask any books that you've recently loved, like mystery, thriller, horror. Just so I don't know if you want to pitch it to the people or just let us know your taste. And in the comments, while she does that, if you want to give us a little emoji, if you read the book, I figured a train makes sense. If you're just here for the chat and you maybe want spoilers or something, give us a skull emoji.
Okay, my name is Ilona and my channel is Ilona Library because it sounds like I own a library. So that's really it. And a book I read recently that I really love, I've been recommending it to everyone. It's Heat, Earth Upon It by Chloe Michelle Howarth. It's got mystery vibes, it's got thriller vibes, it's got like weird girl lit fic vibes as well. It's really got everything, and I just think the writing is so amazing, and I think everybody would love it. So I really recommend it. It's probably my favourite that I've read this year.
I just watched you talk about that in your mid-year freakout tag.
Yeah, I can't stop talking about it. It's so good.
Amazing. Hi.
Hi.
I'm so sorry that the times got a little messed up.
I know. It's fine. It's fine. I just don't know how to do time conversions. Which is funny because I used to be a flight attendant, so I should know how to convert times, and I just don't.
Okay, well, we didn't get a chance to chat before we went live then. But thank you so much for coming. I appreciate you for being available. And now you're probably all panicked because you thought you had 20 more minutes.
No, I was like, oh, I have some time. I'm going to make myself some tea. I'm going to do all this stuff. And then I'm like, I saw the message and I was like, oh, this is so awkward.
No, you're fine. I promise you're fine. I was like, I saw that little phone in the Instagram messages. I've never used it before. I was like, I'm going to call and see where she's at. And I was like, she's going to think I'm so weird for calling her phone.
No, I was like, what is, I don't even know what that is.
Okay, well, you're here perfectly on time to give us a little intro for yourself and your channel and any recent favorite mystery, thriller, horror books that you want to share with the people.
Yeah, so hi everyone, I'm KP. My channel is the Booktrovert Lounge. I did leave it for dead for a little bit, so I'm coming back, I promise. I'm more active on Instagram, which is the same handle. But a recent favorite mystery, thriller, horror, I'm gonna have to say on Sundays She Picked Flowers. I forget the author's name. I think Yaya Schofield, maybe. Yeah, I think that's her name. And also I really liked I Don't Wish You Well. That's more of a YA mystery thriller by, I never know authors' names. So I think that one's Jamara Emil. Okay. But those are two that I really liked.
We both read On Sunday We Pick Flowers, I think in February, because I remember watching your wrap up, and then I didn't see another wrap up for like 3 months, and I was like, where'd she go?
When I started this channel, I was laid off my job, so I had plenty of time, and then I got a job, and then it's like, oh, this is hard.
Well, congrats on that.
Thanks. But I'm still looking for another job. Because it's one of those situations.
I feel that.
Yeah. So that's been taking up like literally all my time because I don't know how it is where you guys are, but in the US, the job market is interesting right now. Very interesting.
It is rough. Okay. Let's get into the synopsis. Actually, rather than putting you guys on the spot, I will just pitch it very quickly. Five, I haven't prepared this at all. Five is a story of 5 individuals on a train platform who are all there at the same time. And we know at the start of the book that one of them is going to die by the end. And we get these short little, I don't know what you call them. I feel like intermissions where there's a countdown, and every single minute we're slowly getting closer to that death happening. And in between, we're getting lengthy chapters following each of the 5 people and just giving insight into their lives, and what kind of brought them there, but also what made them the person that they are. I pitched this as like a character-driven suspense novel, and I tried so hard to make sure that everyone understood like the vibe of this one. But even so, it was less thrilling than I expected. So if you haven't read it yet and you are waiting to know if you should, I would say yes. I would recommend this pretty broadly. The Fable group seemed to like it. I didn't see very many ratings under 4 stars, but definitely don't go into it expecting a high octane kind of thriller, which it could sound like sometimes. That's my pitch. If everyone wants to share their rating, I would love to hear it. And for you two, spoiler free, I would love to hear your rating and then just like a 1-sentence kind of explanation why, and then we'll fully dive into all of our spoilers.
Well, I rated it 4.25.
Ooh.
I liked it. It was definitely really easy to read. I read it really fast. Like, the momentum was good, I thought. And I know it was a thriller, but it was still, after the start kind of narration, the individual chapters were darker than I kind of had expected. And I liked that about it. It definitely drew me into it more.
Love it.
Yeah, I gave it a 4 and actually didn't decide on this until like 20 minutes ago. So that's great. But yeah, I gave it a 4. I usually don't like character-driven stories all that much. But I really loved this one. And I don't know, it made me think about, my choices on who I thought was going to be the person that died and why, and just thinking about these characters and what they were going through. It just made me think a lot about my own judgments.
I think we, as a group, like collectively, are not like solely mystery thriller horror readers. You know what I mean? Like we all are kind of all over the place with general fiction, with romance, with fantasy. So I think this was probably a good one for the group of us. But somebody who might only read thrillers might have been like, what are we getting into? Like, this is not what I was hoping for. I ended up giving it a 4 as well. So I'm really glad that we have a live show of all people who enjoyed the book. Although I like to have different perspectives. I just thought this was like a fun time, and I want to talk about how much fun I had. So I loved the way it was written, but my reason for it being a 4, not a 5, is just that I wanted more shocking moments, of course, especially on the tracks as opposed to in the stories themselves and getting to know the characters. So that is me. I think we should pop into spoilers because my very first question is very important. And I want to know who you thought was going to die from the very beginning. I don't know if we want to spoil right off the jump who it was, but I do want to know what everybody's theory was going into the book and like how it kind of changed or evolved throughout. I put a poll up on Fable, and I will tell you 46% of people who voted before they read that final chapter and found out who died, 46% guessed the right person. And then 19% guessed the child. And I never thought it was going to be the child because I just didn't think the author would do that. But there were moments where I was like, maybe she'll do it. Maybe she'll commit to it. And that would be crazy.
No, I was exactly the same. I was like, there's no way she's going to make it be the child. But then when the chapters were getting really dark, I was like, maybe this is going to be the big bit. She's going to kill the baby. But I kept changing who I thought it was going to be. I thought it was Gideon then. I thought it was right before the last bit, I thought it was just going to be Sunny. I thought it's just going to be kind of one of those things where it was like a lesson of mental health and stuff. And then they did get me with you thought it was too obvious thing. I did.
Yeah, I immediately thought it was going to be Liam, and then I changed my mind to Gideon. And that might have been my personal choice, but I was like, this kid is, and I like, I just, it was getting darker, and I was like, okay, so she's definitely going to have it be the child for sure. But and I kind of wanted her to do that. Like I wanted her to really go for it. But at first I thought it was Liam, and then I changed my mind to Gideon. And then I never thought it was going to be Sonny because I thought that would have been too obvious. Because once they got into his chapter and afterwards they were like, oh, he went there to kill himself, and I was like, no, this is just too obvious. Like that, they're definitely not going to do that.
I like that barely any people thought Mrs. Worth. I don't think she ever occurred to me.
No. I was like, immediately, she's going to survive. She's going to be fine.
It would have been crazy if it was all set up to be a train situation and then she just had a heart attack. Like, that would have been so strange. Oh, yeah. So I never thought it was going to be her.
Yeah, it would have been a little bit of a cop-out. Also, I saw on Fable a bunch of people were saying, oh, I think it's just going to be one of the side characters. And I was like, there's no way. If she did that, we'd all be so mad.
I would be pissed. I would be so upset. Like, what is this?
Yeah, I definitely thought it was Liam from pretty early on in the book. But then when he fell on the tracks naturally, I was like, surely it's not him because we still have so much more of the book to go. So I did like that it was him. And I feel like that's kind of a collective agreed upon thing, right? Like none of us wanted him to live. I mean, none of us wanted him to die. Like if he was a real person, of course. But in the book, it made a lot of sense.
Yeah.
Okay. I feel like with this book, because it wasn't mystery thriller specific, it was just like there's one little mystery throughout the entire thing. There wasn't like a killer. There wasn't anything crazy really happening. My questions don't really apply. So I thought instead of my typical, like, did you see what was coming? What were you thinking? Who could you predict was going to be the killer? Whatever. I thought we would just go through each kind of chapter. And my questions for each one are going to be, like, what was your takeaway from each section? If you had one, if you didn't, that's totally fine. You don't have to have one for each one. What was the takeaway? Like, what were the themes that you recognized? What was the book kind of trying to talk about? And then my second question for each one is, what was your favorite scene or what was your favorite quote? Either one that we want to take on. So we'll start with Emma. Emma was like the tech businesswoman. She was the mother in the train station we met right off the bat with a very rambunctious son. That's how we're introduced to Emma. So what do you feel like was like the purpose of her chapter, or what did you personally take away from it?
I thought that it was really interesting that you kind of feel sorry for her in the station, and then immediately you're like, oh, she's horrible. Like it just showed you another side of her so quickly, and it's hard not to kind of feel like you asked for this. I know it sounds terrible, but the way she was kind of only having the baby to spite others and then ended up with this horrible child, it's kind of like, well, you should have known what you were getting in for, kind of. A little.
Yeah, having a baby out of spite is so crazy.
No, that is so weird. Why would anyone do that? And it goes to show like what she thought motherhood was. Like she thought everyone was just like complaining, I guess, for no reason or was just incompetent. And then she's thrown into this, and on top of that, she has a child that is also awful. And so that just adds on to a difficult life. Like she did not think about even how her pregnancy or childbirth could be difficult or have any complications there. And it's like the worst possible things happened to her, and she thought about none of that. She just wanted to do it to prove a point.
Yeah.
And I was like, this is just so stupid. Like, why would you do this? But I was like, karma, because she kind of got back, exactly what she was dishing out to other people.
I think as well, by her locking him up, you can see that she's still too prideful to actually get help in a way, in a real way, from people around her. She thinks that this best solution is just locking him up, which is so insane and never going to help either of them in their situation. It's still her pride is still getting in the way of everything, even then.
Yeah, she's a very like singularly focused character who was like, I can do everything by myself. And guess what? You can't. Like you do need help. And I hated when we got to Liam's chapter eventually, because he was like, every woman thinks she's independent. She really needs me, and she's going to eventually need me. And I was like, well, fuck, she did need him though. I hate that he's right. Not that every woman is like that, but in that scenario, like it's impossible to parent by yourself. Like anybody who does that, who takes that on, like whether it was their own choice or not, like is such a strong person. Yeah. And I do also think that the book constantly brought in the conversation of nature versus nurture. or something for us to think about in the background. I don't think it gave us any answers because there were great parents, there were bad parents, there were great kids, there were terrible kids. And like, are you a product of your environment or is it your natural brain? And like, she really spanned the gamut of every single type of scenario. What else did I write down for this one? Oh, I think this was the first time, I guess, that we had this perception versus reality moment, because everyone in the first little moment just saw this rambunctious child. And then it wasn't until we got into her chapter that we understood his actual like violence. My favorite quote from that section was when she said, he likes cartoons after violence. And I was like, okay, so this is not new. Like when he like hit her with a stiletto or whatever, I was like, this is not the first time this has happened. Okay. This is a cycle, and you know that he likes cartoons after he harms you. Interesting.
Yeah, like
sorry.
Oh no, go ahead.
My favourite bit was when she was like making the food for him downstairs and she could hear him throwing himself against the door. And she's like, I'm just pretending to be a normal mum downstairs while he's locked up the stairs. I think that's when I was like, oh, this book is actually quite dark. It was quite crazy. It's like one of the first moments that it's kind of like a turning of the tone a bit.
Yeah, my favorite quote is actually during my favorite scene is when she shows up pregnant at her grandma's party. And I thought it was so funny that before at the other party where the girl announced that she was engaged, everybody was like, her grandma was like, why would you do this at my party? But then when Emma shows up and announces she's pregnant, she's like, great, love this for you. I was like, oh, that's really interesting. But the quote that I liked was, and that is how Emma wins or thinks she wins, because soon she will know what the Anns and Phoebes all around her know about the primal love for one's child, the wonder and the terror of motherhood that even Emma will have to feel. And it's like back to my point of she really didn't think about any of this. She didn't even, I was just like, I don't think she thought past the point of proving her point. She didn't think past how she would feel about this child. I think she thought that was going to be an afterthought, or that the child would raise itself, where she would just do bare minimum. I don't know what in her thought process was, but I liked that she was like, soon she will know how all mothers feel about, or at least most mothers feel about their child, and how even the people she thought down on, she will become one of those people, even though her child is very violent and pretty awful towards her.
Totally. I also highlighted that quote. I was highlighting so many things. And I do think that this one, I agree, it set the tone really well, because that very first chapter, you got an idea for how they were all going to play out. And they did. Like every single one had something that was a little like shocking that you didn't kind of see coming. But then also like a sad moment. There was like a sad quote, or like I almost teared up in every single chapter, which was very surprising to me. In this one, it was when she said, I love you, Gideon. And he said, why? And I was like, oh my God. Like as a mom, that's so great. Imagine your child asking why you love them. And like, she didn't even have an answer. Ah!
I think she didn't have an answer because she didn't understand why she loved him.
Yeah, that's actually completely true. She doesn't even understand her own. I think there's multiple characters in here who don't understand their own mind.
Yeah.
Or their own circumstances. Okay, Mrs. Worth, she's the forensic pathologist in her 70s. Her name's Matilda. And she, when we meet her on the train journey, is on her way to her daughter-in-law's funeral. I actually missed that. Like, I didn't miss it. Like, I didn't know her yet, so I didn't really care where she was headed. And then once we read her chapter, and then I went back and I was like, why were all these people here? And I was like, oh yeah, she's on her way to the funeral. That's so sad to have that moment to, I don't know, like reconnect with her grandkids, or like respect her daughter-in-law a little bit more than she did in life. I thought that was interesting. What was your takeaway from that chapter? This was a heavy one.
Yeah, it was actually my favorite though. I was the saddest in my opinion. But I felt the most empathy for her out of all the characters. I feel like I understood her a lot more than the other characters, or I could feel for her in some ways. But I feel like the other characters, I was like, okay, these are awful people, and I kind of like don't even care. Like, why? Like, the backstory didn't influence my decision on what I thought about them. But for Mrs. Worth, I was like, oh, she's awful. And then I was like, oh, that's why, and it's understandable. Like that was not really her fault, like her backstory. But so she was actually my favorite. And man, that was rough to read, especially with the animals and
Yeah.
yeah.
I think it was my favourite one as well. I think, like you say, you don't like her, and then it's pretty quick that you turn around and you do like her. I think it's interesting to see how she was impacted by that childhood. Like, she obviously didn't manage to develop maybe her social skills and stuff as well. And I think she, with her son and her grandchildren, really is doing the best that she can. And it's sad to read and see that other people don't understand that she's really trying. She just doesn't really actually know what to do. So yeah, it was really sad.
Yeah. This was the first, like, Emma's chapter was cool to me because we got to see her. We didn't even talk about the fact that she was, oh my God, what's it called? She was like treating the men in her life. What's it called when she like puts on like a persona and then like whoops them in the bedroom?
Oh, dominatrix.
Dominatrix, right? Thank you. That I didn't see coming at all, but kind of like in a fun way, I guess. And because I just saw her as a mom, and then I was like, oh, she's actually doing like some crazy shit behind the scenes. And then once we got to Mrs. Worth chapter, I was like, oh, the book is putting us in these people's shoes and we're supposed to see them completely differently than we did on the tracks. Like, okay, I understand the purpose of this now, because we automatically don't like her because she's just like rude and she's an older woman who looks down on other people. And then once we understood how she got there, I was like, this book is the epitome of like, you don't understand someone until you've walked a mile in their shoes. And she's putting us, the author, in these situations. I was really sad. She had so much childhood trauma. Her father killing animals for her to then dissect is just so crazy. And it was like, once he brought her a couple animals, and then the last one was like a dog that she clearly knew from the neighborhood. And then she like clocked on to the fact that he was killing them and not just finding them dead, was so devastating to me.
Yeah.
What was the book? Yeah, I guess my takeaway from that chapter, I don't know, just like I got how the book was structured and I really leaned into it and started to really enjoy it. I guess like judgment was a big part of this one. She judged her daughter-in-law. But then also there was, I think my favorite quote going from this one was when she said she'll remember thinking that Livy is brave, defending her children like that, saying that what she thinks is right in the face of something wrong. And she will wish that she could have been that brave long ago when Gerald hurt little creatures and made her cut them open and made her feel strange and all wrong. So she spent this entire time judging her daughter-in-law. And I feel like that is a really typical relationship in reality that people can relate to, is like not getting along with your mother-in-law, not getting along with your daughter-in-law. And at the end, her kind of flipping it around and being like, oh, I respect her. Oh, that's cool that she could stand up for something she believes in. I thought that was really kind of powerful to me.
Yeah, I agree. And the way that she feels like all she can do for them is just completely step away. That she doesn't know how to make it up to people. She doesn't know. When she said she will never forgive me, it's like she can't imagine a world where she can make things right. And I thought that was quite sad. Her slowly finding out that kind of realizing the dad doesn't even have his job anymore and he's bringing home these bigger and bigger bags was so cheeky. It was so awful.
Yeah, but because this chapter was so heavy, I think my favorite part was something that was a little bit more bizarre, and it was kind of funny to me when she gave her son the book of her recreational law.
Yeah.
I was like, first of all, this is really bizarre that she wrote these things down and then shared them with her son. But when I read it and saw that she documented how many thrusts there were, I was like, oh, something is like really wrong with this. Because who does that? Like, that was so
crazy.
Strange. But I thought what was even weirder was her son's reaction to that. Because if my mom gave me something like that, I would be like, what is this? What are you doing? This is not appropriate. And he was like 14. So I was like, I would have been weirded out by that. But he was just like, okay. Because at this point, he knows his mom, and he probably thought it was weird, but that didn't come across in the chapter. But it was just like he kind of accepted who she was. And you see that a lot throughout the chapters with him and like their dynamic. He's like, I know that this isn't normal, but I accept her for who she is, which I thought was kind of sweet. He could have been like, I don't want nothing to do with my mother, but I don't even think he knew her backstory though. So for him to be like, I still accept my mom, and trying to kind of explain away a lot of her behavior to, what was his wife's name, Livy, be like, that's just who she is. She means well. And I think that was true. She did mean well. She just, someone else saw it, said it. She didn't have the tools really to do her best, but that was her best. Like, she wasn't being an asshole on purpose. Like, that was just kind of the product of how she grew up and all of her trauma.
Yeah, he really saw her and like really wanted to support her. And I agree. I liked that. I like that we also got two women like who had pretty completely unconventional methods of having children, right? Back to back. It was like Emma's going to do it on her own in a weird way. I guess it was both in a weird way. Yeah, both of them was in a weird way of just like seeing men as a way to get a child rather than wanting any type of relationship with them. My favorite scene was definitely the autopsy on the children. Like that was hilarious. And the levity that this book brings in is my favorite thing about it, is how in the middle of something heavy, suddenly we have like kids in the kitchen covered in ketchup and screaming. And I think that's so funny. And I loved seeing how both of the women reacted, because Mrs. Worth was like, no, I'm doing it for a reason, like obviously, but then she did feel guilty about it. And then Livy was reasonably upset because somebody is doing something weird with her children, but also I think her reaction was a little extreme. So it's like you get to question everybody's personality at every moment. And I thought that was really fun.
Yeah, I thought the same thing. I thought it was a cute moment. I was like, oh, this is so cute. How she's explaining the different organs and where they are, even though they were probably a little too young. Because I completely missed how old these kids were. And when she was talking to them about like where different organs were, and I was like, how old are these kids? Are they even understanding? And so I went back and saw that they were like super, super young. I was like, they don't understand, but it was still cute. That was her way of bonding with them. And that was the only way she knew how to in a it was funny because that, or not funny, but like interesting because that's how her dad bonded with her. And she definitely
She's trying to do it in a more normal way.
Yeah, she was like, okay, that was bizarre. That was weird. So let's tone it down, bring it down a few notches. And she explained to them like, hey, you can't do this with a pizza cutter. But the kids didn't understand like, okay, a pizza cutter will still hurt you. I do think Livy maybe overreacted, but I think her overreaction was because of the way that Mrs. Worth was treating her. So she felt like this was with like ill intent or whatever. But that was really just an accident, and kids get into things all the time. Granted, it was a dangerous situation, but oh man, I felt really bad about how like she reacted towards her, because she was trying to connect, and it just didn't pan out well at the end.
Also, an accident running over the dog.
Oh, I was
poor
like
dog.
I was like, oh, of course the dog got out, and of course she hits the dog. Like, really, like.
When he came in with the wheels, I was like, what is happening?
I know, I could really picture it as a movie, like this little dog wheeling into the room after when you think he's dead. Okay, let's move on to Sonny. Sonny was like the quirky, stylish man with a gambling addiction, and he wanted to be on the train tracks because he wanted to be hit by the train, which was really devastating to learn up until the very last moment, him considering if he wants to end his life or not. Obviously, I'm glad he did not, and the book didn't go in that direction. I really respect everything that this book did. Like I really want to give it 5 stars so badly because I think this author did everything right. And I think all of her choices were really smart. And the way that she handled Sonny was really good for me. What was your guys' takeaway for that?
It was such a sad chapter, this one, I felt. I think it really is so that you can't judge a book by its cover thing, because the first thing we learn about him is about how stylish he is and how he looks, and it really was, I feel like the message of the book was kind of, you don't know what people have going on in their heads, no matter what they look like. It definitely had that, and it was interesting. The nature nurture thing of like his mum thought she was helping him by supporting him, but actually she didn't help him to understand how to function in the world with his disability. So it ended up he didn't actually know how to better himself in any way in the end.
Yeah, I got from this chapter that it is a very fine line with when you're raising your children to support them and defend them and also get them the help that they need. I think she coddled him and thought he could do no wrong, and she wanted to think of him as exceptional and like brilliant and smart, which he was, but he still had some things to deal with that would have turned his life in a completely different direction if she would have just gotten him the help that he needed. And she felt like everyone was against him and her when the teachers or other people are suggesting like diagnosis and taking him to go get help. She just was so against that. And I felt very frustrated with her character because it's like I get it. I mean, I don't get it because I don't have children, but I can understand like wanting to think of the world of your child and see the good in them despite their downfalls. But also, he really did need some help. And I think had she done that, he probably wouldn't have turned out the way that he was. So his chapter was very devastating for me because also with his mom doing that the whole time, he doesn't even realize he probably needs to go get help. I think a lot of people who get diagnosed with ADHD or any type of being on the spectrum, when they get diagnosed late in life, they at some point do realize, oh, something is hindering me from, uh, there is something here that I need help with. And he just, I don't think he realized that, but he was just already so deep in his addiction by the time he realized that, and him trying to navigate that without like the help that I think he probably should have gotten was just his downfall. And then her passing away on top of that, his dad passing away, it's just all of these things compounded, and you realize how not everyone's story is the same. It is so layered, and every time I felt bad for him, I still like was like, oh, the mom is just not helping in this situation. But I understood kind of like she became a single parent as well. And I think naturally, like when you're doing everything on your own, you are just trying so hard for the best for your child. And that can go in one of two ways. You either go in the completely wrong direction, thinking that you're helping them, but you're actually hurting them. And then sometimes you do the actual thing, the right thing for the child, but it was so complex for me. I felt like I was in and out of certain emotions during the entire chapter.
Even the bit with the auntie when he is saying, do you think I can do this with the money and stuff, and the narrator saying she should have said, you need this help, you need to do it this way, I need to take it from you, but she didn't, because they all want to believe he can just do it by himself. But sometimes you just need to admit, I can't do it all by myself. And it's interesting because just believing in them like non-stop like that, actually it ended up he had no coping skills, and as soon as things got really bad again, just fell right back into the old habits, which was really awful to see.
Yeah, I feel like this chapter was just such the epitome of like everybody thinks that they're doing the right thing, and like how we all have such different parenting styles, and we all think that we're doing the right thing. We all think we're doing our best. Meanwhile, everybody's doing things so differently, and it's so easy to look at another parent and be like, oh, here's how you could fix that. Here's how this would easily be fixed for you. But she, especially after losing her husband, doubling down, I think is a great way to explain it, is she just wanted the memory of like how her husband saw her child. Or did she die first? Maybe she died first? Which one died first?
No, the dad died first.
Yeah, okay. I was like, wait, maybe I'm thinking of a different chapter. But she, I think like sitting in her grief is also what impacted her parenting, because she couldn't fully step outside of the life that she had had with her husband and the way that her husband saw her son. Something that was really interesting about this chapter to me, and I feel like maybe it didn't mean anything, but I thought it was really interesting how it didn't give us her name for like 5 or 6 pages. And I just thought that was a really interesting thing. And I don't know if she did that on purpose or if it meant something, but to me, it felt like we didn't get to know Luna's name until she saw herself outside of being just a mother and a wife, or the first time she interacted with another adult who didn't see her as a mother and wife. It was like she was a real person, and that's when she got a name in the chapter. And I just thought that was really interesting, but I don't know if it was on purpose or not.
No, that's true. Yeah, I hadn't thought of that, but that's...
Well, because I was wondering her name for the first like 5 pages. I was like, what is her name? It keeps calling her the wife, the mother. And I was like, what is her name? And then it gave it to us. But then I don't think it ever gave us the dad's name. I don't think. And so maybe that was the book's way of being like, he was never seen as a real person by Sunny because he didn't get the chance to know him as anything other than his dad. Meanwhile, Luna, we got to see kind of as more than just a mother. I don't know.
Yeah, I think if I'm not mistaken, in the very first chapter, we learn, I think, everyone's names except for Liam until later. They call him the businessman, which I thought was interesting. Like, I think we got Emma's name kind of not soon, but I just remember, like, you mentioning that made me remember, oh, they never said they kept calling him the businessman for so long. And I was like, well, what is his name? I thought he was going to be one of those side characters like Bad Back or To Do List. Yeah, because they were just calling him, but I think we got everyone else's name. So it's really interesting to think about why she wrote the characters or wrote the story in that way. So I didn't think about that. I have to think about like why maybe she's giving a little mystery to their names until a certain point.
It could just be that she didn't want to give names too early because then we'd mix people up. I don't know.
Probably because I was getting confused at the beginning too. But yeah, it is interesting that we didn't get Luna's name until kind of not deep into the chapter, but we were a good ways in until we learned her name. I thought the quote when she's talking about like, you're not a fuck up because if you are, then that means I'm a fuck up. And I think a lot of parents think that the things that may be wrong with their child means that is a reflection on their parenting. And him needing that help wasn't really a reflection on her. And I don't think she really understood that. That is just kind of the way things go sometimes. We all can have diagnoses or different things that are going on with us, and that doesn't necessarily mean that the parent did something wrong. So that's where I kind of felt bad for her, because it's like, oh, she thinks that this is a reflection onto her, which is why she kept thinking that he was just like God's gift to the world and nothing, he could do no wrong. So I kept going back and forth between like wishing that she would get him help and then feeling super bad for her. But like you said, I don't think she could really see outside of the grief. She really couldn't see clearly about what the actual situation was.
I also just remembered how the dad died, and that was something I wanted to mention because I think it shows that like death is so random, because he died after putting on a helmet and getting on the bike, and so he was doing everything to take precautions to be as safe as he could. Meanwhile, Sunny was jumping out of windows and like being this crazy kid, and so like no matter how prepared you are or how much you respect life, death is still so completely random. And I think like death was obviously just a big theme of the book in general. My favorite quote is just when she said, "Children are the strongest antidote to grief, not because of their unconditional love or their joy, but because they take the pain away. Nothing like that. Children are the antidote because of their unrelenting needs, their continuous, voracious, narcissistic, selfish insistence on living. They just like need so much from you that it's like you can't even sit in your grief because you have to keep going. Like you don't really have a choice."
Yeah,
I really liked the bit where it was talking about him getting ready to go, and because we heard about what he was wearing and stuff right at the start, and the scarf, and then you find out that it's the girlfriend's scarf and stuff like that, and it was all like very intentionally put together. It just kind of gave a really new look at him. We've been told so much about his appearance right at the start, but then you can kind of see why he put everything together and like what for. I thought it was really good.
Yeah. I also liked how his dad's last thought was about getting flowers to bring him home. I was like, oh no, it was sad, but I was like, oh, it was kind of comforting to know that that was his last thought, but also sad again because they don't know that that was his last thought. Like that was never expressed. And it also had me thinking like, I wonder what a lot of people think, like what is their last thought before they die? I've always wondered that about the people in my life who've passed away. Like I wonder what was the last thing that they were thinking about before it happened, but to know that he was thinking about his wife and wanted to do something really sweet for her. I was like, oh, that's so sweet, but also just really sad that that was the last thing that he thought about, and she never got the flowers.
Oh, this book is so sad.
It is sad.
Also, that's such a good point because we also get a moment where we learn about somebody's last word before they died too. So obviously that's something that the author is really thinking about too, is the person's last thought, last statement, the final thing. Let's move on to Liam. Liam, we meet as the businessman at the beginning. What do we learn about him? I guess like just his history with Emma is confusing right off the bat. They meet in the train station and they seem like they know each other, but we don't know how yet. And he's trying to get her to like sign some papers or do something businessy. And that's how we get introduced to Liam. In his chapter, we also get his childhood. Something that I thought was interesting about this book that I really liked is that in each chapter, we're not visiting, like it wasn't within like the structure of the book. It's this chapter, there's only five, there's five people, there's five chapters. It wasn't structured as far as like we meet every person when they were a child and then we see them all as an adult. Like it was all different. In one, there was like a futuristic moment. In one, it was when they were a literal baby. And then Liam's, we got like a good amount of his childhood. So what was your takeaways from his chapter?
I thought it was the one that made me dislike the character by the end of the most. Like with obviously with Sunny and Mrs. Worth, you end up liking them a lot more. But Liam, he just had no redemption at all. I think the way he was raised with his brother, he just thinks everybody needs him all the time. And it was really interesting when he couldn't understand that what he was feeling towards his brother's fiance, husband, was jealousy rather than concern. I thought that was really interesting. He seems like kind of delusional. He thinks so much of himself, he doesn't actually understand what he's feeling.
Yeah. I think I got from this chapter was simply that him and Emma should have never procreated together. Actually, like throughout this chapter, I was starting to understand like really why Gideon was, is that her kid's name? Gideon? Yes, why Gideon was the way that he was. Like, oh, you have two parents who are so like messed up. Like, oh my gosh, these are like really awful people. And they should have never had a child together. That was not, that was like really just not a good decision. And I loved when Danny tells him like, I don't need you. I think that was such a pivotal moment maybe for Liam, or maybe just for us in the book, to see like someone finally telling him like, I don't need you. And he thought he was so needed, he thought he was so above, and yeah, I'm just like, I don't need you. And I liked that he told him that because he didn't.
Yeah, he was really just riding the coattails of his brother's intelligence his whole life, and it made him feel that he was important, but he actually didn't really do much by himself at all. I like the quote where he's saying to his brother, I'm worried that he's using you and taking advantage of you, and the brother just says, so don't. Like, just stop trying to control everything. He just wanted some independence. I felt so bad for the brother, and with the wedding scene, I was awful.
Yeah, I think something that this chapter made me think about is definitely parenting too, because I feel like maybe I'm not remembering perfectly, but I feel like these were the best parents of any of the chapters. They were just loving of their children. They were caring for them better than the other parents that we saw. And no matter how well you raise your children, like they can still be assholes. Like they can still, like it's not, again, the nature versus nurture thing of it all. It's like you can't determine how things are going to turn out, even if you are doing your best. And even if we can see you as objectively the best. The quote that I really liked in here, Becky, I also chose this one because she has twins, which was like a shocking moment in its own, is that we saw Liam have a brother to begin with, and then learning about how they were born and how it was like he was in his shadow in the uterus was really interesting. And she said she was always being told something by someone who looked at her and her boys and saw only deficiency because they never asked Doreen to define abundance. And she was just so supportive of these children. And even though she was so supportive and she did everything that she could, like also her kids aren't going to be best friends, which is probably something the book doesn't even like, isn't really touching on, but makes me think, because I have an only child and people are always telling me like, you have to give him a sibling, you have a built-in best friend. And I always think about the fact that there are so many siblings who don't get along, who no matter how well you raise them to be the closest people, it's not that they hate each other, it's just like they're not compatible, they're not going to be friends. And having multiple children doesn't guarantee you have like built-in best friends. And these kids we saw grow up being so close, doing everything together, and then naturally finding different things to care about, working together and not being compatible. And I just thought it was a really interesting angle that the book took and made us hate Liam, which was fun.
Yeah, you see how like people can be raised in the same household and turn out completely different. It was very I connected in this way because me and my brother, although he's 8 years younger than me, so there's a big age gap. But to your point, Kayla, like we are not close. One, probably because of the age gap. Like when I left home, he was still in elementary school. So, and I like went away for college. So I just did not really get to see a lot of his childhood. But also we are so different. Like everyone is confused as to how we were raised in the same household. Like we have completely different personalities. And he's seen as the more difficult one, and I'm like the easy one. And I think getting compared a lot it didn't help the situation. But yeah, you can't guarantee that the kids will be close. I mean, my mom is one of 9. They are not close.
Wow.
Some of them are, but all like it is very disjointed. And when they all get together, it's like this is so dysfunctional. But yeah, it was so interesting to see their dynamic, and because I have or had an aunt who was also disabled, so all of her siblings were very protective of her, and she was the baby, so everyone pitched in to help out up until she passed away. And it just I connected so much with this book because my grandma was doing that by herself up until she was in her 70s, like raising and taking care of her disabled daughter, and seeing how the other siblings would pitch in, would try to help. And I could see how some of them had a superiority complex about that. Like I help out the most and I do this, and it gets to that point sometimes. So I feel like I think I connected the most with this chapter because I had similar like life experiences with this. But yeah, and nothing that happened to Liam or just nothing made me really feel sad for him except for how the mom passed away because it was so sudden. And then it made me realize all of the deaths in this book were all just very sudden. Like Sonny's dad, that was super sudden.
True.
Mrs. Worth mom, super sudden, like all of a sudden. But the main death or not the main death, but the person who like dies at the end, that felt so drawn out. It felt so long. So I started to think about that, like how every death, it can be so sudden, but funny enough, the one that we're all thinking about who's going to die, that felt very long.
Interesting. I feel like I loved hearing how you connected to that chapter. Thank you for sharing. I feel like the chapter we probably connected to the least was Gideon, because his was really quick and he just shared that he burned down a house. Like, hello.
Yeah, I was like, oh, okay. Also saw that coming, like he would do something to that extreme.
Yeah.
But Yeah, I just could not connect to his character at all. And I think at this point you knew he wasn't the one who died. And I was like, oh,
Right, right,
okay.
right.
Like, kind of wish
This was
that
the
was the
shortest one.
case.
It was only like 4 pages. And I was thinking it makes sense because he's the youngest. And so like he hasn't had as much life experience to share. But we did go further in time. Like we found him way later in life and we still didn't get that much about him. I wonder why. Maybe because the book didn't want to drag out. Like I feel like this book was perfectly paced. So perhaps she didn't want to drag out like chapters and chapters of this child. And also we already saw Gideon through the eyes of Emma. So maybe we just didn't need to know too much more about him. But did you guys have any takeaways from this little section?
Yeah, at first I was a bit like, why are we going forward? Because like you say, then we know it's not him. But I think that it really showed the impact of what is happening now isn't going to change anything for him. He's still going to be this way. And kind of like we were saying before, locking him up isn't doing anything to change his behaviours. He's always going to be like this. So I think it was really to show the kind of nature versus nurture thing again, like you were saying. She didn't get the help that she needed for him, and this ended up happening, and it was always going to happen.
Yeah. I didn't really get much out of this chapter because I didn't care too much for it. It's like, okay, whatever. But it was interesting to me how he kind of seemed to understand, like towards the end, what he did was bad. I think
Yeah, I
before.
agree.
And so I forgot what Emma said, but it said that she said it with a little hope. And I was like, oh, there is a little bit. I felt that hope as well. I was very much relieved to find out that the sister and the husband and the daughter survived the fire.
Yeah.
Because when they mentioned that, I was like, oh no, he killed the family
Yeah,
too.
same. I was like, oh shit.
And when they said like, oh, they actually survived it, everybody except for the dog, I was like, oh damn, that sucks for the dog. Like I don't want the dog to die, but also I was like relieved that everyone else lived. But yeah, I really didn't care too much about this chapter. I thought it was really short, and I think I wanted more from it, but you know, I don't think what more could you say about Gideon really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then it led us into the final section, which was quite a bit longer, which was like the actual countdown of the train happening and all of the moving parts and the actual death. And I feel like that was a good pace as well. I guess my question, did you like the pace and structure? Did you like how it was divided into 5? It sounds like we all kind of enjoyed that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like the difference of the like narrative in the train station bits to the POV chapters. I think it kind of was like a completely different tone. Like you could kind of imagine like the darker, like if it was a TV show, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
it would get darker for the
I know what
individual
you're
bits,
saying.
and then it was kind of giving that.
I do wish that's my other qualm with this book is I wanted those to be longer because I thought they were so fun. Like I loved being in the narrator's mind. I love when she was saying, like a couple people mentioned in the comments, she was calling us out specifically. She was like, you kind of want Gideon to die, don't you? Or like, you probably all saw that Liam was going to die. When you read this for your book club, you're definitely going to talk about the metaphors. Like I loved all those little quips so much that I wish that they were longer. I wish it wasn't just 2 pages in between each chapter. I wish it was like 10 so we could really get into that narrator's voice because it was so fun.
Yeah. I liked when she called this out because there was something she said about you're probably reading this book like the day before your book club discussion. And I felt so seen because yes, that was me. And I read it, was it yesterday or Thursday? But I was like, I am definitely reading this at the last minute.
I feel like maybe I remember one of you said which was your favorite. But I don't think I said my favorite yet. I don't even remember which one I jotted down. I don't think I had a favorite. They were all so even to me. I do remember really liking Emma's just because it was a little shocking that the very first chapter we got to see that woman in a totally different light, and it set the tone for the book so early that it was going to be funny and it was going to be sad and it was going to be surprising at every single turn. So I do think that I liked Emma's, even though I don't like Emma as a character necessarily.
Yeah, mine I think was Mrs. Worth. I think that was my favourite one. I also liked Sunny's. I felt like maybe I got most out of that because I also have ADHD, so I could kind of like feel like, you know, that feeling of like I'm never going to get rid of this, kind of when you have those feelings. But yeah, I think enjoyment wise, Mrs. Worth was my favourite for sure.
Yeah, I think I said earlier that Mrs. Worth was my favorite. Like I said, also I had a connection with Liam's chapter, but now that I'm thinking more about it, I also felt some sort of connection to Emma's chapter. Well, I did at first because she like didn't want kids, or she was just like that single person, very career driven, and I'm that way myself. But then it took a turn and I was like, oh wait, never mind. I'm not on board with this. With the way she thinks about mothers, and like I don't think that way about mothers. I think that's very hard what they do, and I don't think they're just like I just I didn't share the same sentiments as her. But then now that I'm thinking about it, Sunny's chapter was probably my second favorite, and I can connect because like culturally, like I in the Black community, we kind of do the same thing where if your child has any symptoms or any sort of, if there's an inkling that there might be a mental health issue going on, it tends to be ignored. Like there's something that largely happens in the community, and it's almost like there's nothing wrong with you. You're and you try to spin it in a positive way, and I am a product of something like that, where it's like, oh, there's nothing wrong with you. I suffered from anxiety a lot as a child, and my mom just thought, oh no, that's just her personality. Like she's just quirky. And it's like, no, I needed help a lot as a kid and just don't see it. So I find that even though these people kind of were largely unlikable, I connected to a lot of their chapters and their perspectives a lot. Yeah, it just gave me a lot to think about.
Yeah, they were all equally strong, I think, and intentional. Like, not one of them, in my opinion, felt misplaced. It felt like it went on too long. It was too short. Like, it was just, I think they were all so thoughtful. And I feel like maybe this book was really well edited, because I could imagine she goes off on all these tangents and then has to really hone it in on, like, what's the most important part of this character's dynamic. What was your favorite side character other than the main five? Because mine was Bad Back, just because we got introduced to him in such a fun way, because the book called him Bad Back. It was like his name was Bad Back, and then it said he didn't actually have a bad back. And I thought that was so funny. And I just love books like that, because I want a shocking twist, obviously, about who died and who was the murderer, but just even something like that is like a little twist to me. And I think that that's so fun.
Yeah, it was funny how he had just told the lie offhand and then he was completely trapped in that for the rest of the time. I also liked, was it To-Do List? It felt like she was the only one doing anything at some times. She was absolutely running about crazy, and I enjoyed that because I was like, okay, at least someone's trying something at this point.
And it's the woman, of course. Something.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, Bad Back was also one of my favorites because he really had to stick to that lie. Like as soon as he said it, he was like, I don't even know why I said that. Like he's like, I don't have a bad back. I don't even know why that came out of my mouth. And then when it came to the end of him trying to help, was it Liam or whoever was on the tracks? I can't remember. And he was like, well, I can't help because I have a bad back and now they're gonna know. And it's like, no one's thinking about that. Like, just go help the guy. But aside from
and then he
him,
hurt his back.
and then he hurt his back. I was like, see the irony of that. But aside from him, I really loved Mrs. Worth's grandkids. They were so fun.
Oh yeah,
and so cute. I was like, oh, these are some of the cutest kids. Because even when she eventually got there, and she was talking to them, and they're like, oh yeah, we remember you. You were the lady who, showed us where the organs were, and we did that autopsy. And they were asking questions about the afterlife and what did she think. And then you got to see a little bit more of her humanity there, like, oh, okay, well, let me like tell a cute story to the kids or like make them feel better. Like, oh, your mom's probably, folding little baby socks and with the dog and all of that. But yeah, they were just so cute. And I really love their story. I wish it was more of the grandkids because they were just the cutest things.
I was glad they came back as well. And it was nice that they had like fond memories of her still, even though everything that had happened. That was nice.
Yeah, I totally forgot about that scene. I highlighted it somewhere. It was just so nice when they were like, She's probably folding the socks. Oh my God. I also liked this little moment we got with people like on the message board talking about the train. And they were like, I'm so sad people died, but like, when can I get back on the train? Or like, when do I get my refund? And I thought that was just such a good kind of finale moment. I wish we had more of that. I wish there was more, like I said, in the in-between moments, and like more message boards would be fun, because the whole point was like how self-obsessed everybody is. That was like, I feel like one of the grand themes of the book is that we're all solely focused on what we need, and we're not really community minded. But then when it came to like saving Liam on the tracks, everyone was community minded. Like, people came together, but then he died anyway.
Yeah. I also thought that was a pretty good. I like that scene as well. But that is so real because I have friends and I see a lot of people talking about things when they in New York when someone jumps in front of the train or they're doing something kind of stupid and still get hit by the train. And they're like, oh my gosh, I'm going to be late to work. Or I've seen someone say that they got fired from their job because like they were getting like they were so late so many times. And every single time he was late, it was because someone like jumped in front of the train. And I it's so interesting how they frame this to the public. Even in the book, they talk about how they don't necessarily say someone died on the tracks. They say customer care or something like that. But even I know here in America, if that happens, they say, oh, it was a customer got sick. That's what they say. Someone got sick on the train, when really someone got hit by the train. And I was like, that's not sick, that's dead. And I feel like we should, I think framing in that way, I know people do that, so it's not so harsh, but I think it would bring a lot more awareness to what is actually happening. And people wouldn't be so self-absorbed and only thinking about, oh, where's my refund on this train. It's like, that is really, it's interesting how we as humans think about death when we are not seeing it and it's not right in front of us, but we're very desensitized to death.
I completely agree. I feel like we have to use more clear language, because it is so easy to forget about humanity. And then when we brush it under the rug even more, like, it doesn't really help anybody. Is there anything you changed about the book? I think I've mentioned mine. I wanted the sections in the middle to be a little bit longer, and I do want there to be a murder. And I know that that's not fair, but like somebody asked me earlier if I would have rated this differently if I went into it not thinking it was a mystery or thriller, and I don't think so. Like, I have the exact same feelings about it. And there's these books by Charlotte McConaughey that I really love that are just general fiction. And every time I finish one of her books, like, I want it to have a little more of an extreme ending, maybe even a little like darker of an ending. And sometimes they're full of hope. And I'm like, that's beautiful. But also, like, I'm just looking for like a little more grit sometimes. And so even in this book, reading it as a mystery, reading it as just general fiction, like, I wanted it to be somebody who killed somebody. And I didn't want it to just be an accidental death, because I just think I want more shocking things. And that's not fair to the book, but that's definitely for me something that I would have changed personally.
Yeah, I 100% agree. I think with how dark the individual chapters were, I wanted something a bit more crazy to happen at the end. I think like the momentum had got so up, and then that was just it. And I know it was because it was more about the message of the people and how they were raised and how and all that. But I agree, I wanted something a bit more crazy to happen at the end.
Yeah,
sure.
Momentum is a very good word to use. That's perfect, because like the book was really ramping it up, and then it was like, oh, he just accidentally died.
Yeah. I also wanted a murder. Like, I just, for some reason, I was reading a thriller, therefore I wanted a murder. And yes, I thought Emma was going to push Liam off, or no, Gideon. I think she's gonna push
somebody.
either one of them. I thought she's gonna push somebody because the lady is bad crap crazy. But I really thought she was going to push her son, because at the beginning when he was getting too close to the train tracks, and she thought, oh, it would just be so nice if he just like fell and got hit by the train. And so I thought that was going to happen at the end. I kind of wanted that to happen. Not that I wanted a kid to like get hit by a train, but one, I didn't like his character, so it's just like, yes, I wouldn't have felt bad about it. But I also just wanted there to be a murder, something a little bit unhinged to happen.
Yeah. Okay, so when I picked this book originally, I thought it was a choose your own adventure because it says in the synopsis, like, you're on the train tracks, like you are in the shoes. They don't know things, only you do. You're our complicit reader, and you will not be able to resist deciding who deserves to walk away and who deserves only 5 more minutes to live. So I thought, not when I picked this for the book club, because I had already read the first chapter before I committed to it. But when I was first pitched, like I first read the synopsis, I was like, oh, this is a choose your own adventure. That's so fun. And do I think that it was? Like, do I wish it was that? I think no, because oftentimes that feels a little too gimmicky. But I do wish there was more of an element where like we were the character in the book. Like perhaps we were one of the side people who got described, and like the book was written in second person and we really got to embody a character. I don't know. I'm glad you asked. Thank you so much. I would have loved if it ended like Clue. Here's 3 different options. Pick the one you want to believe. That's fun.
Interesting.
My son's name is Katie, so I was really hoping you would do that. That's great. That is great.
That's fair. You wouldn't. I hate reading books with characters and I know someone in real life with that character, especially when they're close to me. I really hate when that happens in romance books. Like when I was starting to read a romance book and the main male character had the same name as my brother, and I had to stop reading it because it just got really awkward.
Yeah. My son's name is Liam, and he's the one who died. So how sad on the train tracks.
No.
Second last question. Will you read this author again? I feel like yes. I read somewhere where she was writing another psychological book. So I'll definitely pick it up, and I'll go into it with even better expectations that it's more general fiction than thriller mystery. So that's the perfect scenario.
Yeah, I agree. I didn't read anything from her before, but I'll definitely, when a new one comes out, I'll be interested to pick it up for sure, because I like the way this one was written. I would be interested to see if she does anything different with the next one.
Yeah, I would definitely read something else from this author. This is my first time reading this author. I never heard of him. I don't even know how this book ended up on my TBR. I'm pretty sure it was from one of your videos, Kayla, because I like to watch. This is like future books that are coming out. And I feel like I've had this on my TBR for so long. I don't know if it was supposed to release before and like the date got pushed back or something, but I feel like I've had this on my TBR for a year. And so like by the time I read it, I had no idea what it was about. Because I don't like to know. I like to go into books completely blind. But I really enjoyed this, and I would definitely read. Gonna probably check out one of her other books.
Yeah, I didn't even realize this wasn't a debut. It says in her little blurb, her first book, When I Ran Away, was longlisted for the Center for Fiction's first novel prize. I had no idea she wrote anything else. So that's exciting that there's something I can even go back to. And if anybody has any recommendations, this is my favorite part of the live show, where I get to hear things that are similar or better or just anything anybody has. I have a little stack here, but I'll let you guys go first.
I have one. I immediately thought about Everyone in My Family Has Killed Someone. Because he breaks the fourth wall, tells you right up front, someone's going to die, and you spend the whole time trying to figure out who is going to die, how it's going to die. He's giving clues throughout. That one is a lot more funny than this one, in my opinion. But there's still a lot of dark humor, which I think there was in both of these books. So that was the one that like really stuck out to me. Like, oh yeah, this reminds me of that.
This one's like quite different for a recommendation, but I think the way the train station bits are narrated reminded me of Anxious People by Frederick Backman. Just the way you're kind of introduced to all the different characters and you can see how they overlap in little ways, and the narration's kind of talking to you at some points. It kind of reminded me of this at the start. And I also have this one, No One Saw a Thing, really just because it involves a train as well. And it's an underground train. And they go down there and the kid gets on and then the doors close. And then when they go to the next station, the child is not there.
Oh no.
So that's what that one is about. Really just because it was a train. So yeah, they're the two that I had thought of.
Thank you so much. Everyone in My Family Has Killed Someone is such a good one because the second book is also set on a train with a bunch of authors. So I feel like that's like that'd be a good combo to find that one. Okay, my little stack. I also agree. Big Little Lies. is a good one, because this is one where you find out someone is dead at the very beginning of the book, and it's not until the end that you find out how and why. And this is another one that gets like pitched as a thriller, but it's not really a thriller because you're just following these women and their parenting. I feel like this is probably a really good comp, but it is much longer. And I loved it, but I also read it like 12 years ago, so I don't know if it holds up, but the show is really good. I would also say Monstrilio in a way, because we're talking about parenthood a lot. We're talking about grief, and this is horror, but it also is from like 4 different perspectives and is very slowly going through all of these people's lives and the impact that this child's death has on the family. And then one of my biggest recommendations would be Reprieve, because this is another one that kind of pitches itself as a mystery, and it didn't have the most clear marketing behind it, because it talks about being set in an escape room, and that sounds really exciting, but that's not what the story is. The story is about all of the people and their backstories and how they ended up at the escape room, which is so similar to how all these characters ended up at the train station. So those are the ones that came to mind for me. I would also say, if you read this and you liked the structure of like following all these different people, but you wanted it to be so much more exciting, then I would say like The One by John Mars as like a thriller sci-fi might tickle your fancy. And then also something like Confessions, which is like a teacher and a bunch of students, and every single chapter, like something crazier is revealed about the relationship between everybody and bad things that have happened. They're not similar to this, but they might be a good place for you to go if this didn't appeal to you and you wanted it to be a little more exciting.
Yeah, actually, since you brought up John Mars, The Passengers by John Mars is actually a really good comparison, because everyone's in their cars and you're trying to figure out who's actually going to be the one that crashes. And you're getting everyone's backstories, and I think everyone in that book was pretty awful as well.
True.
But I really loved that book. That's actually one of my favorite thrillers. And I won't get in a self-driving car because of it.
I would never trust a self-driving car. Like, even when I'm 80 years old, they could have all the technology in the world and like everything is different. I'm not getting in one.
No, every time I see a Waymo story about like, oh, like it hit something or it hit a kid once, I was like, see, you guys need to read The Passengers. Like every single time, I'm like, I'm like an evangelist with the book. Like, you need to read the book because hey, it's happening right in front of our faces.
Yeah, it's so scary. Even like when terrible things aren't happening, when someone's just like stuck in the middle of an intersection, I'm like, I would literally get out. Like, this is so uncomfortable. I can't imagine. But maybe I'm just like too much of a control freak to ever get myself in a scenario where like, I don't even like when other people drive me places. I don't want an AI car.
No, it's weird. I need a person, an actual person in the driver's seat, hands on the wheel. And they are controlling it. Even like, I don't even like using cruise control. Like, no, I need to be in full control of the car.
We so relate. Okay, so that was the entire live show discussion. Thank you guys so much for coming and talking about 5 with us. I'm so glad that everybody could be here and that we could chat about it. And if you haven't seen our next pick, you can start it right now, is Dead But Dreaming of Electric Sheep by Paul Tremblay. It's another one that is not like your standard mystery thriller horror, because it's science fiction and I think it's a little more drawn out. But the author has said like there is horrifying elements to this, and I think I'm going to really love it. So hopefully everybody who ends up reading it, we have a good chat at the end of July. And that's it for us today. Thank you so much for being here. Bye.